all other Azure related services, and one of them is Azure Monitor. I started to realizing how exact things work behind the scene and how we can improve our daily activities with Azure Monitor. Azure Monitor is not designed to be event monitoring systems. Azure Monitor is monitoring tool which is not monitoring tool. It is more than monitoring tool, more for analysis.
Hi everyone, we are back with another episode of our Azure On Air podcast. My name is Lex and I will be your host for today's session. With us we have Vladimir Stefanovic. Vladimir works as a cloud architect at Schuberg Philis, which is a Dutch IT consultancy company. Today he will talk about how to use Azure monitoring in the right way. So welcome to the podcast, Vladimir. Good to see that you made it. Before we move on to the main topic of the podcast, can you maybe introduce yourself a little bit?
Hello everyone, hello for all listeners, and thank you for inviting me to this podcast. I'm really happy that I can share something that I know and that will be interesting for our listeners. And yes, you're correct. My name is Vladimir Stefanovic. Uh, I'm originally from Serbia, but I moved approximately 2.5 years ago to the Netherlands with my family, where I work and live right now in Breda, North Province. I work as a mission critical engineer and cloud architect for the Schubert Place, which is a Dutch IT company, mostly on Azure side, but also on a hybrid cloud technologies today, which is really interesting and let's say new buzzword for the last couple of years. Also, I'm a Microsoft certified trainer for the last 8 years, Microsoft certified trainer regional lead for the Serbian region and Balkan countries, and also Microsoft Azure MVP for the last 4 years. So I have 4 rings on my MVP award. So that is in super short, and I hope uh, that talk about Azure Monitor will be more interesting. My titles.
Yeah, well, sounds very good. Yeah, thanks for the introduction. So it seems that you're pretty busy in the community as well. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to to have that MVP title, for example. Yeah. So today, indeed, we're going to talk about Azure monitoring. Was there a specific reason why you chose this topic, and what can you expect from your talk?
Yeah, actually, if you're working on the real projects, okay, I'm doing a lot of community stuff and had a lot of talks over the last 5 years from different areas from the Windows Server because I started as a Microsoft engineer and worked a lot of it, Windows servers, Exchange servers, then Office 365. Right now, more focused on Azure. But if you work on real projects and on some real stuff, and if you have direct touch with those technologies and start digging around and to looking how that works, then you can find a lot of interesting stuff. Maybe those things doesn't work as you expected. Maybe those things work better than you expected. It really depends on perspective on what you exactly need. But for the last 1 year, I'm working on a big project, international company, and we are completely focused on hybrid cloud, Azure Stack HCI, but all other Azure related services. And one of them is Azure Monitor, because we need to monitor infrastructure, how that works, and all related resources. And then when I started to work deeper with Azure monitoring, I started to realizing how exact things work behind the scene and how we can improve our daily activities with Azure Monitor. Because if we talk about Azure Monitor, only about monitoring solution like Nagios, Zabbix, PRTG, or similar tools, which will give you some kind of feedback and alerting if one service is down or something like that. No, that is not designed in that way. That is even more than a classic monitoring solution. And that is the reason why I really like how that works, not only for monitoring stuff, but all related services.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I completely understand. You compare tools, at least you mentioned tools like Nagios, Zabbix, and PMG indeed. But in what perspective are they different to how Azure Monitor is doing it? Is it just that they're doing just state of components, whether resources are available or not? Is it also about telemetrics? Is that kind of monitoring also possible with the tools you mentioned before?
Yeah, exactly. So it's not comparable. In the past, I worked a lot of with Nagios systems, and that was really reliable to check servers if services are down, if something is down, if disk is over some threshold or something like that. Azure Monitor can do that. Yes, it can do.
Hmm.
But let's start from the basics of Azure Monitor. Azure Monitor is not designed to be event monitoring
Okay.
system. So, for instance, if my service is down, I will get alert immediately. No, it doesn't work. We have a couple of streams in Azure Monitor. Two of them are really important, and one of those two important streams is metrics, and the other one is logs. So if we have a virtual machine or app service or AKS or container instance, whatever, and we open that in Azure portal, we will see some kind of metrics. What is the CPU usage? What is the memory usage? Uh, from time to time, we are getting new tiles with new functionalities, for instance, VM availability or networking in and out and some similar. And that is everything what we can by default for the cloud resources get from the metrics. And
Mhm.
based on that, we can create some alerts, which is a good thing. Okay, CPU is over 70, 75, 80% over the last 1 minute, for instance.
Yeah.
Send me an email or create a webhook send to some other monitoring system or something like that. Why that is not super reliable in comparison with some other tools? Because even though that is almost real time for the metrics, if you take a look from that perspective, Microsoft say that could be some delay in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
And if that service is super reliable, if we have delay of 5 minutes, the most probably no. The most probably I will get call from the client that something doesn't work
Yeah.
before then I see that in monitor. So from that perspective, is usable. But unfortunately, over the last 6 months, I saw personally a couple of times that we had a delay for the couple of hours in Azure Monitor, especially in the log analytics ingestion. And from that point, that is not super reliable. But on the other side, we have logs. We have metrics and logs. In logs, we can put a lot of different kind of messages. So we have uh, opportunity to ingest logs from the regular cloud services like VMs, firewalls, networks, a lot of other services, or from the containers, or from the on-premises machines, or from creating a custom logs. So you can create your custom logs, custom table, and using API calls, you can fill a log analytics table. And if you have a lot of data on one place, then you can use that for different kind of alerting, different kind of dashboarding, graphs, telemetry, and lot of other things. So that is the main difference. Azure Monitor is monitoring tool, which is not monitoring tool. That is more than monitoring tool, more for analysis.
Because indeed, it's mainly based on collecting those metrics from the underlying resources.
Exactly. Collecting metrics is a smaller part if you
Yeah.
compare that with collecting logs.
Logs.
Along with that, we can collect traces and changes, so we can have some change track analysis. We have traces for application and so on. But take a look in that part as a part of logs. We can have a bunch of logs. So I like to say when I presenting monitoring stuff, I like to say there is one forbidden question: what is the price? Price could be really expensive, but could be affordable. Depends on amount of logs. So those kind of logs are, if I remember well, around €2 per gigabyte ingestion data. and sounds expensive, but it really depends again. So, for instance, if you have a Azure firewall and you need firewall logs, so that is one of the really important stuff to find out what is allowed, what is denied, and so on. Depends on your traffic. It could be 50 euros per month, could be 2,000 per month. Depends on number of amount of firewall logs, but you need those kind of logs. Also, if you have logs from, for instance, update management, and you have 1,000 virtual machines and you ingested logs there, you can easily present in one dashboard all information about machines. Is there update waiting for installation? Is reboot needed? If everything is green, everything is fine.
Yeah.
So you can manipulate with those logs very easily. I say very easily. You need to know custom query language, but it's not rocket science. You can
No,
manipulate with those data very easily and present that and put on dashboard. And if you
correct.
have customers, if you have colleagues who are not so familiar how to uh, use Azure Monitor in details, you can simplify that by putting everything on a dashboards, creating workbooks, creating functions, and other stuff.
Yeah.
So that is where Azure monitoring starts, with collecting data and doing something with data. Alerting is, I would like to say, side activity, not primary activity. I wouldn't put myself in situation to be completely rely on alerting based on logs. We can use that, but in a different way.
I must say, I'm a bit surprised indeed that Azure Monitor doesn't. Well, indeed, yeah, the monitoring part is there, but just like you said, the alerting is of sounds like of lesser importance, right? It's really about the dashboarding, and of course that's very useful. But yeah, outside office hours, for example, if something bad is happening with some critical system, you also just want to be informed about it, right? And indeed, yeah, and that's not just about the metrics, but then you also need to be aware of the status of all those resources.
Yeah, that is not designed for that. That is
No.
more than that. And yes, I had internal talk in company a couple of days back and presented a nice finding and nice implementation that I did for my team and together with my colleagues, and we presented to other teams. And one of the question was, yeah, but we cannot completely rely with because we have some kind of delay. Yes, I fully agree. I cannot say, yeah, that is the perfect solution. We will get alert immediately. No, because that is not the case. Definitely, we need to be honest, and we can speak freely, of course, and say. But also, I would like to emphasize on the good stuff. So there are some downsides, of
Yeah.
course, but
Yeah.
there are a lot of upsides. So even though we know in my team and surrounding teams in my company what are downsides of Azure Monitor, we are still using the best, latest and greatest from the Azure Monitor for a lot
Mhm.
of dashboarding, creating workbooks, getting data. So, for instance, there are my two favorite, let's say, feature functionalities. One of them is Workbook, because Workbook is a part of the Log Analytics workspace, and it's not directly related to specific Log Analytics workspace. One of the big beauty of the workbooks in a Log Analytics workspace is that we can create a query and we can execute query against Log Analytics and get some data. We can uh, create a query and execute query against Resource Graph. We can query ARM manager, JSON, a lot of different sources we can put in one workbook. Also, if for instance we have 15, 20, 30 different subscriptions, which are life cycle based. All of them has some resources, log analytics, some data, and so on. And we're really interested in what is the usage of, for instance, usage of log analytics data. And that is super simple query. Usage pipe and data. That is great. But we will get that from specific log analytics workspace. For instance, using Workbook, we can execute query against multiple destinations, so multiple log analytics. And then we will get additional column uh, called underscore resource ID, which will represent which resource reported to us. And in one query, we can get information from so many different sources, so many different log analytics workspaces. So if you have 30 different subscriptions with a lot of machines and you need to collect all of those data, you cannot do that using log analytics because log analytics can query only itself. But you can do that using workbooks. Second beauty in workbook is we can manipulate with columns. We can configure different kind of visuals in columns. So we can use color coding, icons. If something is healthy, we will have green mark. If something is warning, we will have yellow mark, or all field will be different color. Also, if we are using percentage for disk space, then we can configure some kind of bars that will be in different colors depend on how your disks are full or empty or whatever. So there are a lot of good things that you can use, but they're not just monitoring. It's monitoring, but more in deep analysis.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, that in itself is already very, very useful, of course. Well, indeed, for the day-to-day operations, it might not be enough, but at least, yeah, those dashboards, yeah, they give a lot of insight, right? Also in trends, in workloads, to understand if your current solution, if it's scaled in the proper way, or maybe you need to upscale or scale out and that kind of stuff. Uh, there's the kind of information you can get based on those analysis, which is very valuable, of course. And that's also where,
And that also really depends on workload you have. If you have traditional workload
exactly,
with a lot of virtual machines, the most probably old school tools will be more than enough and better for your workload. But if you have only cloud workload with more or less cloud native services, cloud services, and so on, maybe in that case, Nagios, PRTG, and similar tools are not the best choice. I'm pretty sure they are improving their products on daily basis to be on track with all changes that we have today. But in this case, we I see a couple of times a really big value of Azure Monitor. For instance, couple of years back, I had one client who has a SaaS product for the SharePoint in a cloud, and everything is based on cloud services, so app services, web apps, key vaults, storage accounts, etc., networks, and so on. And for them, it was really important to, based on some logs, get some information, what is happening, and also what is happening in specific app services based on CPU usage and so on. And when I created for them, they were my first client where I created a lot of fancy stuff for those kind of monitoring and dashboarding. And then I first time used the workbook and created because they had three different regions: Australia, US, and Europe, and so many app services. And I created a dashboard where all app services will be there. All the links will be clickable so they can go to investigate deeper if needed. And it will be sorted based on, I cannot remember right now, but maybe 1 hour, what was the CPU usage and memory usage. And based on that, Also, if CPU usage is above, for instance, 60%, fields will be yellow, above 75% will be red. So if they're 24/7 team, just log in, they can immediately find out what app service has a problem. With one click,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
will go directly to the workbooks and can see all other details, because app service is just compute power for web apps. They can immediately find out what web app is consuming the most resources. So
Yeah.
depends on your workload, depends on your needs. Maybe Azure Monitor is a perfect solution, maybe not. Again, depends on your workload.
Yeah, that's really nice. That's really nice. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. You said those workbooks. Are they also across region, across subscription, or is it still
Yes,
subscription based?
completely. Workbook, regardless of your subscription, regardless of your region, can do query to all of your, for instance, log analytics workspaces. The only one trick is need to be in the same under the same tenant, and executor need to have enough rights. So if I'm owner of
Yeah.
everything, and I can create super nice dashboard and create dashboard that put everything on dashboard, and then you will log in. You don't have access to all those resources, maybe for only for European sites. You will still be able to see that dashboard, but you will be able to see only data that you can see. So that is also
Yeah. Sure. Okay.
good thing. So data are there. Someone created something, and that is completely cross subscription, but needs to reside on the same tenant. That is only trick. And I mentioned that
Yeah.
is one of my favorite features and functionalities. Other one is functions in log analytics, which I found really useful if you don't have a lot of knowledgeable colleagues. For instance, you have a smaller team who will do just triage and initial monitoring, querying, something like that. And sometimes queries could be really complex, especially if you have services that will send only one big message, and then first thing you need to parse that message to get everything in regular columns. So what is the Azure function? Sorry, not Azure function. What is the log analytics function? Log analytics function can save exact query as a function, and then you will call function later, like in store procedure in
Mm.
SQL, like
Yeah.
parameterized PowerShell script, and so on. And then by
Yeah.
calling only one simple command, for instance, I created firewall for the firewall logs. I created query that we exactly need specific columns, names, and so on, and call it Azure Firewall Network Logs. So right now, if I need to do some investigation, I will just type Azure Firewall Network Logs. IntelliSense in Log Analytics Workspace works perfectly. It will show me that there is one function, and then I will get everything what I need. And then I can easily do filtering using where statement, summarize whatever I need, much easier. So uh, again, not Azure Monitor is not monitor only. It's more analysis tool with really good uh, visualizing possibilities, analyzing possibilities, but also respond. So we can. What is also beauty of Azure Monitor, uh, along with the alerts and actions. Sometimes, if you have some alert, you exactly know what you need to do. You exactly know that you need to
Yeah.
maybe run one script that will reboot some services or something like that on one machine, or clean up some tables or some cache or something like that. So you can do that. Alert can trigger some action, which is really nice. I found useful that in a old school tools, of course, but right now that is much easier. You can create a webhook that will, or you can connect Azure Monitor with Nagios PRTG, so you can be alerted there in a different way. So yeah, a lot of possibilities are there, a lot of integration we can use to have some action. at the end.
Yeah, that's really useful, right? I mean, knowing what's going wrong is one thing, but indeed, yeah, be able, just like you say, to respond to it, especially in an automated way based on that trigger. Yeah, that's very powerful, and all in all, that just helps in bringing up the availability of the complete solution, right? And of course, yeah, that's just so important.
Yeah. So that is definitely something that we need to start thinking about because, especially today, you cannot find easily a lot of available IT guys to work. If you have a big client, your job is growing, customer is growing, you don't have enough people. You
Yeah.
need to do everything in fully automated way. So we cannot automate everything 100%, but we can
No,
if
no, no.
we can automate 90%, 95%, yeah, then we can do do a lot of things and based on a lot of logs and criteria and whatever, we can filter our alerting in a proper way. So that is really important,
Yeah,
and also important to find out what has happened last night, for instance.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. True. It is nice to see and know that everything is healthy within the business hours, but indeed, maintenance and that kind of stuff that's always happening. Well, yeah, during the weekend and during the off hours, right? So then as well, it's equally important to understand what's all happening and if everything is coming up correctly and everything is working back after maintenance and that kind of stuff. Yeah, very good, very good. Um, yeah, is there anything else that you want to share? Yeah,
Well,
you mentioned indeed.
th-
Yeah, alerting is not the best point of Azure Monitor. So there are some gaps, maybe intentionally, or maybe not intentionally, but at least they are there. How how would you typically address them, or would you just say to the customer, "Hey, we have implemented Azure Monitor and we do this and that with it, but this and that area is not supported by the products or by the tool. So that's something that you need to take care of yourself." How do you approach that kind of scenarios?
again, that really depends on what is the workload. For the customer I work
Yeah.
now, we have two different monitoring solutions due to a limitation in application they have. And Azure Monitor wasn't able to do some kind of parsing of timestamp or something like that. I cannot remember correctly from that
Hmm.
application what was the problem. With Azure Monitor, I cannot say that will be the perfect solution or not, especially because, as you said, we have a big, not a big gap. A couple of minutes is not a big gap, but we experienced a lot of times last year uh, much bigger gaps in measured in hours, and in that case, you're
Hmm.
definitely not on track with client, and you cannot say that you have good monitoring if you completely relied on logs and logs are delayed for a couple of hours. So it again, it
No,
really
no, you're
depends on
right.
what is your workload. Sometimes you need to combine a couple of tools, sometimes not. Uh, but
Yeah.
to wrap up everything, yes, not the best. Azure Monitor is not the best tool for just simple alerting because cannot be fully reliable due to some outages and delays in getting data. But for all other stuff, if 5 or 10 minutes are not important for you, for all other stuff, that is really, really good tool.
Yeah, so indeed. So if you have, if you have real-time transactions with, for example, let's say financial transactions or a stock exchange, where real-time awareness of everything is important. Well, Azure Monitor might not be the best solution, but indeed, yeah, if you have all kind of other solutions with no, well, yeah, somewhat more less high volume workloads, then Azure Monitor might work out very well. And worst case, indeed, if there would be a gap in the logs and the metrics for some time. Of course, it's not ideal, but uh, it won't break your company at least.
Yeah, exactly. But also, I would like to say that volume of data is problem. You can have a lot of data. Sometimes, not sometimes, always, problem was on their side. Microsoft wasn't able to handle such a big data that are coming
Mm.
in from all customers. So that was a incident response for the last 2 or 3 times. Weren't able to scale up very quickly infrastructure, which is okay. I wouldn't like to comment that right now, but 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 yes, if you need real time or nearly real time data, Azure Monitor is still not something for that.
But luckily, on the other side, yeah, there are a lot of benefits and positive sides, just like we discussed. You have the nice, informative dashboards, and you have the powerful workbooks. So that clearly does give a good insight. So clearly, Azure Monitor is still is a good tool, and with let's be honest, each piece of software that can be found, yeah, there are also some benefits and some disadvantages and some gaps, right? That's how it works in IT.
Yeah, exactly. So I really like if you have a lot of valuable data, you can easily transform
Yeah,
that those data in something, uh, some kind of good dashboards, good visualization for
yeah,
$0. So you already paid for data, and all other kind of things are yeah, you are paying for some queries and some kind of things, but that is not too much.
yeah. Well, I don't know if there's anything else you want to mention about Azure Monitor. We are on a call for about half an hour now, which is our regular length for the webinar. So if it's on me, we can go to the wrap up.
Actually, I would like to show you something, but that's not possible in this format. So, so I think that I'm done with those kind of informative talk about Azure Monitor. So yeah, if there is a other opportunity for the presenting something in a real way, with dirty hands, yeah, you know how to find me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah, we can certainly set something up, right? And very interested to understand what it is about. That would be great. Um, yeah, so indeed, let's go indeed to the wrap up. Thanks, Vladimir, for having all the insights in the pros and the cons of Azure monitoring. Yeah, again, very insightful. Thanks again. Thanks also to all our listeners, and we will see you in the next one.
Cove.co